Hello, we are Monsters Inc. Studios, and for our team members, hello, I am Melissa Seifer. I am the designer and sound engineer.
I'm Elliot Madsen, I'm the designer.
I'm Vipin Naguri, I'm the team lead and the program.
I'm Ben Cornick, I'm one of the sound engineers and designers.
I'm Alejandro Vega. I'm also one of the sound engineers and an artist.
And one of our teammates, Adir, isn't here, but he is the programmer and artist as well. So for our game framework, we are using Unity to build our game, and we decided to split our game into two portions. So our first portion is going to be a 2D pixel art style, and then our second one is going to be a 3D, more dungeon-like style.
So we present to you Nightmare Kitchen. So Nightmare Kitchen is a roguelike / cooking game. And we'll start off with the story. So the main character is a chef. He's been abandoned in Monster City after his car breaks down. He's the only human in the city, and with no service or a car, he needs to find a way to survive. While being chased, he struck a deal with the monsters, and if he began cooking for them, they will in exchange not eat him. After this, he had one question. What do monsters eat besides humans? Weaker monsters, of course. He wondered where he could possibly find monsters to beat. So he searched and searched until he found a dark passageway, an elevator at the end, which led to a dungeon. He heard noise coming from it, so Chef had an idea. What if he went down there and used whatever was there as food for the monsters? So he built his restaurant right on top of the dungeon, and the monsters began placing their orders, and the chef goes down and kills different types of creatures and to get their body parts to cook. Of course, the chef has to be very careful not to mess up, because if they get hungry, he's back on the menu. So here's the main character. He's called just the chef. He's absolutely terrified of monsters, hates working here, and he wants to escape. He previously worked at a 5-star restaurant, and he misses making cake.
So how is the game played? It's split into two portions, the restaurant and the dungeon. So the restaurant view is more of a 2D, calmer portion where you kind of just walk around your restaurant and interact. You can interact with the monsters, and you can also receive missions for your dungeon dive. And then there's the dungeon portion, which is a 3D roguelike part of the game, where you can fight monsters and get their loot and get different loot and bring it back to the restaurant. So the restaurant mechanics, the cooking / looting system. The orders the players receive during the start of the day will be stored in a cookbook. That will be accessible during the dungeon portion of the game. There will be a way to view your pantry or the parts that you currently have on hand. This will allow the players to view what they already have before heading into the dungeon. And when the players return from the dungeon, the ingredients they have collected will be used to fulfill the orders that the monsters have placed. If too many orders are unfulfilled, the game ends and the chef gets eaten. And the combat system, so the dungeon portion begins with the player heading into the dungeon through an elevator. The dungeon is a pre-created map with some portions changing every time you enter the dungeon. Once inside the dungeon, the player will have to explore and look for creatures they need to kill to fulfill orders. They can find better weapons the deeper they go into the dungeon, alongside with buffs and upgrades. The combat will be split up primarily within multiple types of weapons, some having cooking-related themes like spatulas or like a wooden spoon, and others will be medieval type of weapons like swords. The creatures will drop their parts, which can be collected and viewed within your inventory.
Okay, so this is just kind of some concept art of the restaurant. We kind of had this loosely based off of Dave the Diver, if y'all have heard of that, where it begins within the day, where you take in orders, and then you go down and dive for fish. It's very similar in idea to that. And this is the dungeon. This is just a very early prototype. So the final version is going to have multiple different types of rooms, loot rooms, monster spawn rooms, and at the end, a boss room. And that is going to be the way that you can exit the dungeon, along with just going back to the very entrance. And this is a small prototype. This is just the elevator leading down, and this is the spatula, one of our weapons. It's a long boat. Well, it's a gold thing. That's fine though. This is some of the concept art.
Yeah, so this is some of the concept art for the enemies that our other artists drew up. And you can see that they kind of fit into the dungeon type theme. And so they'll drop the various ingredients that you need to cook up the food for the other monsters. And then these are some of the textures that we cooked up for our dungeon. And as you go into the other dungeon rooms, the textures will also differ between them.
Thank you.
Thank you.